My brothers and sisters, we were not created to live in the shallows. We were not born to cling to the banks when God has called us to walk on water. Comfort is a cozy place, yes, but growth is where the miracle happens. Growth is where destiny unfolds. Comfort will cradle you, but growth will call you. Some of us are praying for new levels, but still living in old patterns. Asking for the blessing, but refusing the stretching. We cry out for purpose, but settle for predictability. Hear me, you can't have growth without discomfort. Every caterpillar wants to fly, but the cocoon gets tight before the wings take flight. You can't get resurrection without crucifixion. You can't reach the promised land staying in Egypt just because Egypt feels familiar. You see, the comfort zone is where dreams go to die. The comfort zone is the enemy of progress. You weren't called to settle, you were called to soar. And every step you take outside of your comfort zone is a step closer to your calling. Don't just chase peace, chase purpose. Don't just seek ease, seek expansion. The furnace you're in today might feel like it's breaking you, but it's building you. Don't resist the stretch, embrace it. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. It's time to leave the shallow end. Time to push past fear. Time to silence comfort and pursue growth with fire. Because what God has for you is too big to fit in that comfort zone. Comfort feels good. It's warm, it's safe, and it doesn't ask much of you. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't question you. It just lets you be. Comfort feels like a soft couch at the end of a long day. It feels like staying under a warm blanket when the world outside is cold and demanding. It feels like knowing what to expect and not being surprised. But while comfort may feel nice for the moment, it can slowly take away your future. Comfort may keep you from pain, but it also keeps you from growth. And when you choose comfort over challenge, ease over effort, and safety over stretching, you slowly begin to step away from the destiny you were created to walk into. You see, no one becomes great by staying in the same place. No one fulfills their purpose by always choosing the easy road. Greatness never grows in the soil of comfort. It grows in struggle, in effort, in risk, and in the willingness to face the unknown. Destiny requires movement. It requires decisions. It requires letting go of what's easy so you can hold on to what's eternal. Think about the seed. A seed is full of potential. Inside it is a tree, a flower, or a plant that could grow strong and beautiful. But as long as it stays in the bag on a shelf, it will never grow. It will never become what it was created to be. It may feel safe in the bag. It may be protected there, untouched, undisturbed. But that safety also means the seed remains useless. In order for the seed to become something more, it has to be planted. It has to be buried. It has to be pressed under the soil. It has to go through change. It has to break. And only then does it begin to grow. People are just like seeds. We are full of potential. Each person carries dreams, ideas, gifts, and callings. But many never see their potential grow because they are afraid to leave what is comfortable. They are afraid to be planted. They are afraid of the dark. They are afraid of breaking. They are afraid of being different, of being challenged, of being stretched. So they stay where they are. They live a life that is smaller than what they were meant for, not because they couldn't go further, but because they wouldn't take the first step. Comfort whispers lies. It says, stay here, you're doing fine. It says, don't try that you might fail. It says, this is good enough, don't risk it. But those lies steal your future. They keep you tied to what's known while your destiny waits in the unknown. They keep you looking down while your purpose calls you to look up. Destiny doesn't come knocking on your door while you sit on the couch. Destiny waits for you out on the road when you're walking, even when you're unsure of the path. It shows up after effort, after faith, after you've taken the steps even when your knees were shaking. There are people who had great ideas, but comfort kept them from ever starting. There are people who had strong callings, but comfort told them they weren't ready. There are people who should be leading, teaching, building, helping, but instead they are watching life go by because they didn't want to get uncomfortable. And now they wonder why nothing has changed. Nothing changes when you stay in the same place. Nothing grows without a little pressure. Growth hurts sometimes. It pulls you. It demands more from you. It makes you show up even when you don't feel like it. It pushes you to think bigger, to trust deeper, to work harder. But growth is the only way to get to where you were meant to be. You cannot fulfill your destiny while hiding from discomfort. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you are stepping away from the person you are becoming. It's not easy. That's the truth. Growth means saying no to things you used to enjoy. It means waking up earlier, praying harder, working smarter. It means failing sometimes and still trying again. It means letting go of the fear of what others will say and choosing instead to listen to the still small voice inside you that says, go. Every person who has ever achieved something great had to walk through a season of discomfort. Whether it was starting a business, raising a family, building a ministry, or changing their life, they had to let go of comfort. They had to be willing to feel awkward, to feel unsure, to feel stretched. But because they chose growth, they reached their destiny. Think about the times when you really changed. It wasn't when things were easy. It was when life pressed you, when you had to make a choice, when you were tired but kept going, when you were afraid but still moved forward. That's when strength showed up. That's when new doors opened. That's when you began to walk into your future. That's when you saw who you really were. If you want to grow, you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable. To the full. If you want to step into your purpose, you have to leave behind what is easy and reach for what is necessary. Your future requires faith, and faith doesn't grow in comfort. It grows when you step out on nothing, believing something will hold you. So ask yourself today, what is comfort costing you? What is comfort costing you? What dreams are dying in the name of staying safe? What opportunities have you passed up because you didn't want to feel the stretch? What version of yourself could you become if you just took one brave step away from what's familiar? Comfort may feel good today, but growth will bless you tomorrow. Your destiny is too important to let comfort control you. Shake yourself loose from fear. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There will never be one. The right time to grow is now. The right time to start is now. The right time to start is now. The right time to leave your comfort zone is now. Don't let comfort cripple your destiny. You are made for more. It's time to rise. Growth is something we all want. We want to become better people. We want to improve our lives. We want to reach our goals, live our dreams, and walk in our purpose. But many people want to grow without going through what growth really takes. They want the reward without the process. They want the success without the struggle. The truth is, growth always comes with discomfort. You cannot grow and stay comfortable at the same time. The two do not go together. Think about a child growing up. When a child gets taller, they often feel aches in their legs and arms. These are called growing pains. The bones and muscles are stretching, adjusting, and shifting to a new size. It is a natural process, but it is not always pleasant. The same thing happens in life. When we grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or even in our careers and relationships, there is always some kind of stretching involved. And that stretching doesn't feel good in the moment, but it is necessary. Many people want to avoid pain. They want everything to come easy. They want change without challenge. But change without challenge is not real change. If something comes too easy, it often doesn't last. Real growth takes effort. It takes time. It takes choices that are not always comfortable. It takes waking up earlier when you want to sleep in. It takes being honest with yourself when it's easier to make excuses. It takes trying again after you failed, even when you feel discouraged. Discomfort shows up in many ways. It shows up when we step into something new. It shows up when we try to break bad habits. It shows up when we try to speak up instead of staying silent. It shows up when we leave something that no longer serves us. It shows up when we try to forgive someone who hurt us, or when we try to move forward from a painful past. All of those things can feel hard, but they are signs that growth is happening. The gym is a great example. If someone wants to get stronger, they have to lift weights. And when they lift weights, their muscles may feel sore. But that soreness is not a sign of harm. It's a sign that the muscle is being worked. The muscle is breaking down slightly so that it can rebuild stronger. No one builds strength by doing nothing. In the same way, no one builds a strong life by staying in the same place. The pain of growth is part of the progress. There are people who stay in jobs they don't like because they are afraid to try something new. There are people who stay in relationships that are not healthy because they fear being alone. There are people who don't start the business, don't go back to school, don't take the step because the unknown feels too risky. But here's the truth. Staying in a place just because it's comfortable may keep you safe, but it also keeps you small. You were not created to live small. You were made for purpose, and purpose will always pull you out of your comfort zone. Think about the butterfly. Before it becomes beautiful and free, it has to be a caterpillar. and the caterpillar has to go into a cocoon. Inside the cocoon, everything changes. It's dark, it's tight, and the caterpillar has to fight to break out. It is not an easy process, but when it breaks out, it has wings. The struggle gave it the strength to fly. If it never went through the discomfort, it would never become what it was meant to be. In the same way, our seasons of struggle are not pointless. They are preparing us for flight. The job loss, the heartbreak, the rejection, the waiting period, those are all part of the process. It doesn't mean something is wrong. It means something is growing. Just growing. We may not always understand it while we're in it, but later we often look back and realize that the discomfort was shaping us. It was building patience, wisdom, strength, and resilience. Those qualities do not come from easy times. They are born in the fire of hard moments. Sometimes we pray for growth and then we get surprised when things get hard. We ask for a better life and then we wonder why things feel shaken. But often that shaking is the very thing that wakes us up. It moves us. It teaches us. God doesn't always remove the storm. Sometimes he uses it to push us forward. Because if we never feel the push, we might stay stuck forever. Discomfort also reveals our character. When things are easy, it's simple to be kind, patient, or faithful. But when things are hard, when people talk about us, when money is low, when plans fall apart, that's when our true heart is tested. Growth comes when we choose the right thing, even when it's the hard thing. It comes when we stay strong, even when everything around us says to give up. Growth is not a one-time thing, it's a journey. Every season of life will bring something new to learn, something new to face. And each time we grow, we have to go through a little more discomfort. That's how we know we're moving forward. If everything feels too easy for too long, it may be a sign that we're not being stretched. But the good news is this: discomfort doesn't last forever. It is temporary, but the growth it brings is lasting. The lessons you learn, the strength you build, the courage you gain, those things stay with you. They become part of you. And the next time life challenges you, you'll be stronger, wiser, and more prepared. So the next time life feels uncomfortable, don't run from it. Don't shut down. Don't think something's wrong just because it's hard. Remember that you're growing. You're becoming. You're stepping into a better version of yourself. Let the discomfort do its work. Trust the process. Keep going. You can't become who you're meant to be by staying who you are. You can't walk into the future holding on to everything from the past. And you can't grow without letting life stretch you. If you stay with it, if you keep pressing, keep believing, and keep moving, you will look back and realize the discomfort was worth it. You'll see how far you've come, and you'll be proud of the person you became through it all. Sometimes what we know feels safer than what we don't know. It's human nature to hold on to what feels familiar. We stay in the same place, think the same way, and do the same things because they feel normal, easy, and safe. But just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's good for us. Just because something is known doesn't mean it's right. Familiarity can be comfortable, but it can also be a trap. People often stay in the same situation for years, not because they love it, but because it's what they've always known. A person might stay in a job they don't enjoy. Why? Because it's familiar. They know the routine. They know the people. Even if they're unhappy, at least they know what to expect. Someone else might stay in a toxic relationship, not because they're happy, but because it feels normal. Maybe they've been treated a certain way for so long, they start to believe it's all they deserve. This is how familiarity traps people. It whispers, it's not great, but at least you know what to expect. The unknown can feel scary. New things bring uncertainty. Starting over takes effort. Letting go takes courage, so we stay where we are. We convince ourselves it's not that bad. We say, maybe it'll get better, even when nothing changes. We keep repeating the same patterns and expecting different results. That is how we get stuck. We don't move forward because we're afraid of what's on the other side of change. Think of a bird that's been kept in a cage. Over time, that cage becomes its whole world. It forgets how to fly. Even if the door to the cage is left open, the bird might not leave. Why? Because the cage is familiar. The cage feels safe. The bird doesn't realize that there's a wide sky waiting outside, full of freedom and opportunity. People can be the same way. We stay in our cages because they're what we know, even if they limit us. Familiar routines can make us lazy. Familiar people can keep us from growing. Familiar thinking can block new ideas. Familiar places can prevent us from seeing the bigger picture. There is nothing wrong with routines or stability, but when we become too attached to them, we stop growing. We stop dreaming. We stop taking risks. We stop hearing that quiet voice inside telling us there is more out there for us. Some people miss out on their purpose because they never leave their comfort zone. They never take the step of faith. They never move to that new city, start that new project, apply for that new job, or meet new people. Not because they're not capable, but because they're afraid to leave the familiar behind. That fear keeps them locked in a life that's smaller than what they were created for. Familiarity can also blind us. It can make us stop seeing the beauty in what we already have. Think about someone who lives near the ocean. At first, they might wake up every day amazed by the waves, the sunrise, and the sound of the sea. But over time, they stop noticing. It becomes normal. What once brought joy now blends into the background. That's what happens when we get too familiar with something, we stop appreciating it. The same can happen in relationships. We stop saying thank you. We stop showing love. We stop listening. Not because we don't care, but because we take it for granted. And if we're not careful, we lose what we stopped valuing. There's a story of a man who walked the same path to work every day. One day, someone told him about a new shortcut through the woods that would save time and give him a better view, but he refused to try it. I've always walked this way, he said. It works for me. So he kept walking the longer, harder way, never knowing that there was something better just around the corner. That's what many people do in life. They hold on to old ways, old habits, old thinking, and miss out on something better simply because it's unfamiliar. Hey, if you want to grow, you have to be willing to let go of what you've always known. You have to open your mind, open your heart, and sometimes even change your surroundings. It doesn't mean you forget your past. It means you're brave enough to believe that your future can be better. You won't discover new strength by staying in old patterns. You won't meet new people by only talking to the same ones. You won't learn new things by only doing what you've already mastered. Growth begins when you step away from what is easy and walk toward what is easy and walk toward what is uncertain. It begins when you ask what else is possible. It begins when you say, I'm not going to stay here just because it's what I've always done. That decision is not easy, but it is powerful. You might face fear. You might feel lost at first. You might make mistakes. But all of that is part of the journey. Every great story starts with a step into the unknown. Every great life begins when someone chooses to move beyond the familiar. The fear you feel now will be the strength you carry later. The unknown today may become your new normal tomorrow. You don't have to change everything at once. Sometimes growth begins with small steps. Maybe it's starting a new habit. Maybe it's having a hard conversation. Maybe it's trying something new or learning a new skill. Every step you take away from the familiar is a step toward freedom. A step toward your future. A step toward the life you were meant to live. Familiarity can feel safe, but it can also be a trap that keeps you from becoming your true self. Don't let what you know stop you from discovering what's possible. Don't stay in a small life just because it feels comfortable. You were made for more. The world is waiting for you outside the cage. So take the step, try the new thing, meet the new person, learn the new idea, open your mind, open your heart, break the routine, escape the trap, and step into something greater. Fool. Let me know if you'd like this as part of a devotional series or formatted for a talk or blog. Pressure is something we all feel at different times in life. It can come from our jobs, our families, our finances, our responsibilities, or even from inside ourselves. Nobody enjoys pressure, but nobody enjoys pressure. It can be uncomfortable, heavy and hard to carry. Many times we ask God to take it away. We pray for peace, for rest, and for things to become easier. But what we don't always realize is that pressure is often part of God's plan. He doesn't always cause it, but He allows it. Not to punish us, but to shape us. Not to break us, but to build us. God uses pressure to prepare us for purpose. Think of how diamonds are formed. A diamond starts as a simple piece of carbon, nothing special to look at. But deep underground, under intense pressure and heat, it begins to change. That pressure doesn't destroy it, it transforms it. Over time, that carbon becomes a diamond, strong, beautiful, valuable. Without the pressure, it would have remained just a piece of black coal. The same is true for people. Without pressure, we stay the same. But with it, we begin to grow, to shift, and to shine in ways we never thought possible. Sometimes we go through seasons that feel too heavy. We carry burdens we didn't ask for. We deal with situations we don't understand. We face questions that have no quick answers. It feels like life is pressing down on us from all sides. But in those very moments, God is often doing his deepest work. He's not just fixing our situation, he's shaping our character. He's teaching us to trust, to be strong, to lean on him, and to discover who we really are. Pressure has a way of showing us what we're made of. Look at the life of Joseph in the Bible. As a young man, he had big dreams. But before he could walk in his purpose, he had to go through pressure. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. For years, he lived under constant pressure. But God was not absent. In every step, he was preparing Joseph for the position he had promised. When the time was right, Joseph became a leader in Egypt and saved many lives. But he never would have been ready without the pressure. The pain prepared him for the platform. The same thing happens in our lives. Sometimes pressure comes when we are close to stepping into something new. It might feel like everything is falling apart, when in reality, everything is being put in place. God is stretching you, growing you, and strengthening you. The things that feel like setbacks are actually setups. The pressure that feels like it will crush you is the very thing that's forming your purpose. Even Jesus faced pressure. In the Garden of Gethsemane, before going to the cross, he was under deep emotional and spiritual pressure. He prayed with such intensity that his sweat became like drops of blood. He asked if the cup could pass from him, but then he said, "Not my will, but yours be done." That was pressure. But through that moment and through the cross came the greatest purpose the world has ever known, our salvation. Pressure came before purpose. Pain came before victory. In your own life, you may be wondering why things are so hard. You might feel overwhelmed, tired, and unsure of the future. But don't give up. Don't walk away. God has not forgotten you. He sees the pressure you're under, and he's using it for good. You may not see it now, but he's building something inside you. He's preparing you for what he has ahead. You're not being crushed, you're being created. Think about a piece of clay in the hands of a potter. That clay is pressed, stretched, and spun around. It's shaped and reshaped again and again. It doesn't look like much at first, but when the potter is done, it becomes a beautiful, useful vessel. If the clay could speak, it might say, "This hurts. Why is this happening to me?" But the potter knows exactly what he's doing. The pressure is part of the process. Without it, the clay would never become anything. God is the potter. You are the clay. He knows how much pressure you can take, and he knows what he's forming in you. Sometimes, pressure is what pushes us into prayer. It reminds us that we can't do everything on our own. It teaches us to lean on God more, to trust him more, and to draw near to him. When life is easy, we can become self-reliant. But in the pressure, we remember our need for him. And that's not weakness. That's strength. Pressure also produces wisdom. It helps us see what matters. It removes distractions. It reveals what's real and what's not. You begin to let go of things that don't matter and focus on what does. It helps you understand others better, show compassion, and become more patient. Those lessons don't come from comfort. They come from the heat of life. Even in nature, pressure is needed. Seeds must be buried deep and pressed by the soil before they grow into trees. Babies are born through pressure. Muscles are strengthened by pressure. Trees grow strong when they face pressure from the wind. Pressure is everywhere in the world around us, and it serves a purpose. So don't let pressure make you panic. Let it push you to purpose. Let it remind you that something is happening, even if you can't see it yet. Keep walking, keep praying, keep trusting. The pressure will not last forever, but the purpose it produces will. You may not be where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be. God is still working. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the pressure that almost broke you was the very thing that built you. You'll see how strong you became. You'll understand why you had to go through what you did. And you'll be thankful that God never left you in the middle of it. He's still molding you. Still shaping you. Still writing your story. In life, we all want to rise higher. We want to be successful, to grow, to move forward, and to reach the next level. We want the promotion, the breakthrough, the opportunity, the open door. But many times before we can rise, we must first be stretched. Before elevation comes stretching. That's how life works. That's how growth works. That's how God often prepares us. He stretches us before he lifts us. Stretching is not always easy. It can be uncomfortable, confusing, and even painful. It means being pulled beyond where we were before. It means doing things we're not used to. It means stepping out of our comfort zone and learning to trust even when things don't make sense. When we're being stretched, we might not see the full picture. You might wonder why we're being challenged, why things feel so hard, or why it seems like we're being tested. We don't always realize is that stretching is preparing us for what's coming. Imagine someone who wants to become more flexible. At first, it feels tight. It may hurt a little. But as they keep doing it, their muscles adjust. They become more flexible, more capable, and more prepared for movement. If they never stretch, they would never grow. The same is true for our lives. If we never go through any stretching, we won't be ready when it's time to rise. God often uses seasons of stretching to prepare us for elevation. He knows what is coming, even when we don't. He sees the next step, the next level, the next door, but he also knows what kind of strength we need to walk through it. So he allows stretching, not to harm us, but to strengthen us. Not to make us quit, but to make us ready. Sometimes stretching looks like waiting. Sometimes stretching looks like waiting. You've been praying, hoping, and working, but nothing seems to move. It feels like time is standing still. But what if that delay is part of your stretching? What if the waiting is building your patience, deepening your faith, and preparing your heart? When you're finally lifted to that new level, you'll have the strength and wisdom to stay there because you didn't rush the process. Other times, stretching comes through responsibilities. You're given more than you think you can handle. You feel overwhelmed, tired, or unsure. But instead of giving up, you rise to meet the challenge. You discover gifts and strengths you didn't know you had. You learn to depend on God in a deeper way. That's stretching, and it's part of your preparation for elevation. Stretching may also come through discomfort. You might be asked to do something new. You might be placed in unfamiliar situations. You might be called to leave something behind. An old habit, a toxic relationship, or a limiting mindset. Letting go is not easy, but in order to rise, we must release what's holding us down. That's part of the stretch. You cannot move forward while holding on to everything from the past. In the Bible, we see many people who were stretched before they were elevated. David was anointed to be king, but before he wore the crown, he was stretched in the field as a shepherd. He was stretched in caves, running for his life. He was stretched by trials, betrayal, and heartbreak. But all of that prepared him to lead with wisdom and humility. Moses was stretched in the wilderness for 40 years before God used him to lead the people of Israel. Joseph was stretched in prison before he was elevated to power in Egypt. Even Jesus was stretched in the desert before he began his public ministry. Over and over again, we see the same pattern, stretching first, then elevation. When we understand this, we stop resisting the stretch. We start embracing it. We begin to trust that God is using every moment, every delay, every challenge, every lesson for a purpose. We may not enjoy it, but we can grow through it. We can learn through it. And when the time comes, we'll be ready for what's next. Sometimes people want to be elevated without being stretched. They want the blessing, the position, the influence, but they don't want to go through the process. But the truth is, if you skip the stretching, you won't be strong enough to carry the weight of what you're asking for. Elevation without preparation can crush you, but stretching makes you strong. It builds your endurance. It teaches you to rely on something greater than yourself. You may feel like you're being stretched right now. Maybe in your job, your family, your finances, or your faith. You might feel like you're being pulled in different directions, like you're being pushed beyond your limit. But you are not being destroyed. You are being developed. You are being prepared. The pressure you feel today is building the capacity you'll need tomorrow. Sometimes the stretch is quiet. Nobody sees what you're going through. Nobody claps for your growth. But that doesn't mean it's not real. The most important changes often happen in the secret place, in the quiet hours, in the hidden moments when you keep showing up, keep believing, and keep pressing forward. And then one day when the time is right, things begin to shift. Doors open. Opportunities come. The people who didn't see you before start to notice. Elevation begins. But it's not by accident. It's because you were faithful in the stretch. You didn't quit. You didn't run. You trusted the process. And now you're ready for the rise. God doesn't waste anything. Not the pain, not the waiting, not the tears, not the silence. He uses it all to shape you, mold you, and prepare you. So don't despise the stretch. Don't fear it. Embrace it, because it means elevation is coming. You're being pulled back like an arrow, only so you can be launched forward with greater power and purpose. You were not created to stay in the same place. You were made to grow, to rise, to move forward. But first you must stretch. And when you do, you will discover that everything you went through was preparing you for more than you could imagine. Faith is a powerful thing. It helps us believe when we cannot see. It gives us hope when things feel uncertain. It carries us through hard times. But faith doesn't grow in places where everything is easy and safe. Real faith comes alive when we step out of what's comfortable and move into what's unknown. Faith grows when we are stretched, when we're unsure, and when we have no choice but to trust God. Most people like to stay in their comfort zone. It's the place where things feel familiar and safe. It's the place where routines are followed, risks are low, and we feel in control. But comfort can sometimes be a trap. It can keep us from stepping into something greater. It can make us settle for less than what we were made for. God often calls us out of our comfort zone because he wants to show us who he really is and what he can do through us. When everything in life is going smoothly, it's easy to say we have faith. But when life changes, when we lose something or face something we didn't expect, our faith is truly tested. That's when we find out how strong our belief really is. That's when we learn to rely on God more than ourselves. And that is exactly where faith begins to grow. Look at the story of Abraham. God told him to leave his home and go to a place he had never seen before. Abraham didn't have a map. He didn't know where he was going. All he had was God's promise. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't easy, but he obeyed. And because of that, Abraham's faith became strong. His trust in God was built through the journey, not the destination. Think of Peter. One night he saw Jesus walking on the water. Peter asked if he could come out and walk too. Jesus said, "Come." Peter had to step out of the boat, out of the safe place, and walk on something that didn't make sense. As long as he kept his eyes on Jesus, he did the impossible. He walked on water, but the moment he focused on the storm, he started to sink. That's what happens when we step out in faith. The moment we take our eyes off Jesus and look at our fear, we fall. We fall. But as long as we trust him, we can do what we never thought we could do. Faith doesn't mean we have no fear. It means we move forward even with fear in our hearts. It means we believe even when we don't understand. It means we say, God, I don't know how this will turn out, but I trust you anyway. That kind of faith cannot grow in a place where everything is predictable. It grows in the unknown. Many people want miracles, but they don't want discomfort. They want answers, but don't want to ask hard questions. They want growth without stretching. But that's not how faith works. Faith needs challenge, it needs change, it needs moments that make us say, oh God, if you don't help me, I can't do this. Leaving the comfort zone doesn't always mean making a big dramatic move. Sometimes it's small things, like forgiving someone who hurt us, trying something new, saying yes to an opportunity we feel unqualified for, or speaking up when it's easier to stay silent. These moments test our faith. They show whether we really trust God or if we only trust him when things go our way. Sometimes God leads us into places that make no sense to us. We look around and think, why am I here? But those are the very places where faith grows strongest. When we have nothing else to lean on but him, we find out he's enough. When the answers don't come quickly, we learn to be patient. When the doors don't open right away, we learn to keep knocking. That's faith. And it comes to life when we walk outside the place where we feel most comfortable. Look at Moses. He was called to lead an entire nation out of slavery, but he didn't feel qualified. He even told God that he wasn't a good speaker. He didn't feel ready, but God reminded him that he would be with him. Moses had to step into something uncomfortable to fulfill his purpose. If he had stayed in his comfort zone, he never would have seen the Red Sea part or watched a nation be set free. So many people stay stuck because they're afraid to take a step. They're waiting for the perfect moment. But faith isn't about waiting for perfect. It's about trusting God in the unknown. It's about saying yes when it feels risky. It's about believing there is more ahead, even when the path is not clear. When we step out in faith, it changes us. It teaches us to listen more closely. It helps us become more sensitive to God's voice. It reminds us that we are not in control, but he is. It shows us that we don't have to have all the answers. We just have to follow the one who does. Faith outside the comfort zone also inspires others. When people see someone walking by faith, trusting, believing, moving forward in the face of fear, it encourages them. It stirs something inside them. It gives them courage to take their own steps. Your act of faith might be the thing that helps someone else find theirs. Find theirs. If you feel like you're being pulled into a new season, don't be afraid. If you sense God calling you to something that feels bigger than you, that's a good sign. It means you'll have to rely on Him. It means your faith is about to grow. And it means something new is on the horizon. God does not call us to stay comfortable. He calls us to grow. He calls us to trust. He calls us to believe when it's hard. He calls us to walk by faith, not by sight. And every time we take that step, every time we leave what's safe and move toward what He's promised, our faith becomes stronger. Not because we're strong, but because He is. Faith does not thrive in stillness. It thrives in motion. It thrives in risk. It thrives when we step out of the boat, even if we don't know where our feet will land. So don't be afraid of the unknown. Don't run from the stretch. Your comfort zone might feel safe, but it will never take you where God wants to lead you. Real faith lives just outside of it, and that's where your greatest growth will begin. So today, I challenge you. Don't let comfort hold you back. Don't let comfort hold you back. Don't let fear keep you from stepping out. God is calling you to more, not to a life of safety, but to a life of purpose, not to a place where everything makes sense, but to a place where your trust in Him becomes stronger than your fear of the unknown. You were not created to play it safe. You were created to walk by faith. You were created to walk by faith. And faith doesn't grow in still waters. It grows when the waves rise and the winds blow, and you step out anyway. It grows when you say yes to God, even when you don't have all the details. So go ahead, take the step. Trust the one who walks on water. He's already waiting for you just outside your comfort zone. And when you get there, you'll discover that's where faith begins to thrive and where your greatest victories are waiting.